guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be the read along to Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side by Jamal T. Millwood, which is really Chris Todd. And I do want to say that I don't believe this is honestly like her words, but you know, I don't really believe this is her words. I believe some of the stuff is true, but I don't really necessarily believe this is her actual words. I believe this is somebody that actually just put this together and put it out there. But people want to read the book. They don't want to buy it. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have bought it, but I did. And I'm going to read it to you. Okay? The author's name is Chris Todd, and I'm going to go ahead and read it to you, okay? And I will be putting this in by chapters, so that way it'll be easy for y'all to follow along with. It's 19 chapters. And y'all, I bought the book so y'all don't have to. So go ahead and, you feel me, donate, Cashapp me, slay and pray. Okay? Praise with 2 Y's. Holla at your girl, you know, donate to the channel, support me. You feel me? So let's go ahead and get into it. Chapter 1, Introduction. Soon after high school, I started landing modeling jobs. I couldn't believe it. It was all happening so fast. I met my husband, father of my oldest child, and one of my oldest friends in life, I'll be sure. It was a whirlwind romance. I was only 19 when we married, and no, it didn't work out. Al is still one of my best friends to this day. Our son Quincy is such a talented and wonderful young man. At that time, I had no idea my relationship with Al was going to introduce me to the man that I would spend the better part of my adult life with. A man whom I would love and cherish, but eventually fear and hate. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I will say, although I knew what was going on, I turned a blind eye many times. Here I have to tell this truth. Unfortunately, because deep down I knew everything was happening, but I lied to myself a lot. He was so charming, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a devil, and I fell for it. This story must be told despite the fact it will hurt my children. I cannot hide it any longer. Sean Combs must be stopped. Chapter 2. Humble Beginnings. I was born to loving parents, Jake Porter and Sarah L. Porter, in the Peach State of Georgia. Although Columbus High School, where I graduated in 1988, I knew I was going to be famous. In the 10th grade, one of my best friends, Tina, said to me, "You won't make it here in Georgia." I knew if I really wanted to be famous, I would have to leave my hometown and my home, Georgia. That conversation was so important. As I look back now, it changed my life. I met Al while I was working in the industry. He was so dope and charming. I had such a crush on him. We were married before I knew it, and Quincy was on the way. But I was young, and it just felt like it wasn't going to last. It was a little heated between us after we separated, but we got past that quickly. He is a super dope guy and an amazing father. Although we were separated, we were and are forever bonded through Quincy. Thank you, Al. I will always love you. When I met Sean, he was cool. I didn't think much of him at the time. He was just another guy at the label. Uptown was huge, and we were all living our best life. But Sean continued to lay on the charm, and before I knew it, we were dating. As a young single mom at one of the hottest companies in the world, life wouldn't get any better. Then it did. My boyfriend was getting even bigger. He and Clive would hang out a lot, but I didn't think anything of it. I mean, that was his boss, and he was doing things bigger than most men dare to even dream. Then it happened. I mean, okay, I was a little bit of a freak. I enjoyed myself with my partner, and toys are one thing, but I never imagined a man that I was dating asking me to use a toy on him. The first time, he said it was just something to experiment, try something new. I was grossed out, but he kept begging. He said it would only be this one time, and he was just curious. I was only 21 at the time. I said, "What the hell?" I hated it. He bled from it, and it was shit on it. I left him alone after that. Chapter 3, Second Chances. Sean kept reaching out, and I kept ignoring his calls. Eventually, in a few weeks, we ran into each other at an event. He came over and sat next to me. We were cordial. He flattered me by saying, "You look so amazing." I replied with a simple, "Thanks, Sean." He tried to get up and leave, but he pulled my arm. As I turned to him, he looked deep into my eyes and said, "Look, what happened between us was weird, but I really care about you. Can we?" He paused, and I tried to use this as my second attempt to escape. I pulled my hand back and said, "Sorry, Sean, I have to go." "Please, I think I'm falling in love with you. Can we talk?" My breath was taken away. Did he just say he loved me? It was so fast. I wasn't aware of this manipulation tactic. Not yet. God, I was so young and so naive. He continued, "Let's just have dinner." And I fell for it. 2 days later, we went out for drinks at a lounge in Lower Manhattan. The place was nice. Sean was really coming up and pulling out all the stops to impress me. He pulled the chair out for me to sit. Back then, he was always a gentleman. He smiled and said, "Look," as he sat across from me. "I hated it, and I never want to do it again. Give me another chance." Over coffee the next morning, I decided to give him another chance. For the next year and a half, things seemed pretty normal. It was fun. Things were going great, and we were living the dream that I dreamt about throughout my youth. Sean and Clive were working on Bad Boy, and he had his first couple of artists. He picked up Craig Mack, then a rapper from the West Coast called Notorious B.I., to help Chris develop. He was collaborating with the biggest name in hip-hop to make it happen. Things could not be more amazing. Then he asked me to do it again. It was insane. Sean said, "Baby, I can't stop thinking about it." "What the hell are you talking about?" I responded. Sean continued, "I just can't stop thinking about that night. It was amazing. Can you screw me one more time, please?" I became infuriated. "Why won't you go to Clive? He is just the one screwing you, isn't he?" Then Sean hit me. This was the first time, but he slapped me hard. Before I could form the words, he began to beg, I'm sorry. Holding my cheek where he hit me, I turned and ran off. That should have been it. I guess I am a glutton for punishment. He sent me flowers and a bunch of expensive gifts. Then we bumped into each other again at another industry event. He sat down next to me. This was deja vu. Sean started, Imagine running into you here. Get the fuck away from me," I forced out. He became more serious as he said, "Look, baby, I'm sorry." But I just glared at him. "There's nothing you can ever say to me. Nothing." After an awkward silence, he finished, "You know I love you. I love your son. He's my son. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll do anything. I'm sorry." Shit, he can be so sweet. Here we go with this love thing. This time, it's not falling in. He was great with Quincy, and to be honest, despite everything, I missed him. As he stood to walk away, I remember hearing myself saying, "Call me later." What the fuck is wrong with me? Chapter 4, Forgiveness. Sean arrived with flowers in hand. He wanted to see Quincy. He was so good with him, and Quincy ran over to hug him. I felt my heart melting. He asked Quincy, "How you doing, Tiger?" Quincy looked so innocent as he responded, "I'm good, I miss you." Sean's response sounded genuine. "I miss you too. We'll hang out tomorrow, okay?" "Okay." Sean gave him a little love tap on the butt. "It's bedtime." Quincy replied, "Okay, good night," as he turned to head towards his bedroom. Here was the man I fell in love with, but what was I thinking? Shit, not only does he want butt plugs, he slapped the shit out of me. So why am I still talking to him? They said that love is blind, but is it stupid too? As Quincy left, Sean looked at me and smiled. "Baby, let's go have some fun. The babysitter is on the way. I just want to show you a good time." I was so mad at myself for melting as I said, okay. We sat on the couch laughing and genuinely having a good time when the doorbell rang. The babysitter had arrived, and so we left. As we excited to leave the house, a big man climbed out of the limo and opened the door for us. He wore a sharp suit with a gun, noticeably tucked under his arm. I thought to myself, could he have made it visible, or did he want me to see it? Despite my reservations, Gene was a sweetheart. He was very courteous and polite. As he tipped his head and said, "Good evening, ma'am," Gene drew a smile out of me as I responded, "Hello." Gene and I would see each other a lot after this day. Chapter 5. Sean Kneels. The year passed, and thankfully, we didn't have many bad arguments, although Sean was strangely getting into voodoo. He would put curses on people, and I wasn't sure how to respond to that craziness. My problem as a single mother was I wanted to be married. He always had excuses and delays when it came to committing to marriage. His label was blowing up, Biggie dropped, and I was just about over. He also signed Mary J. Blige, and of course, when I found out he slept with her, we fought. He claimed it was a mistake, and my stupid ass took him back again. Sean asked me for a threesome with her. At first, I was mad, but Mary was beautiful. It was our first threesome, and I loved it. Mary was sexy. I would not be doing this a lot, but it was so hot. I was young, and exploring my sexuality was enticing. Over the years, we brought over women into our bedroom periodically, and we were happy. That was until one day I came home to a situation that went from awkward to a nightmare. Quincy was with the babysitter, and Sean was sitting with Al B. Sure at the dinner table. I had a child with Al, and Sean was the father in Quincy's life. The awkwardness of all of us being together had dissolved a long time ago, but it was still weird that they were here in my home together alone. I sat down and we had drinks. It was fun. The conversation was cool until it wasn't. I was a little loose after a couple of drinks. I remember him saying, "It's still a little weird seeing you with my friend, but you're happy, so I'm happy for you guys." Sean responded, "Thanks, man. Me and you shared so much," Al replied coolly. Word. The conversation took an odd and awkward turn when Sean said, "We all been together sexually, but not together." I was shocked for a moment. As quietness lingered in the room, I asked, "What do you mean by all together?" Al shifted uncomfortably, but Sean didn't hesitate. "You know how we sometimes invite other people into our bed?" I couldn't believe it. "Oh, hell no. Sean, this is my son's father." "Al, say something." What Al said was mind-boggling. "I don't know. It could be kind of hot. I miss you in that way." Although I couldn't believe Sean would do this, the truth was I still cared about Al, and this could be very hot. I just didn't want it messing up my relationship. And if things became awkward, how would it affect Quincy? So I asked, "Are you sure? Are you both sure?" I imagined both of them inside of me. I knew this would be awkward sexually. There would be some bumping of genitals, but what happened next I couldn't have imagined in my wildest dreams. Al had... I don't know what that means, but it says blank, 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 blank. I couldn't believe it. I stood there in shock. But when Sean fuck Al B. Sure, I ran out the room. This was too much. Sean called out to me, "Oh, come on, Kimmy." They didn't chase after me. They kept on fucking. I couldn't get the image out of my mind. I couldn't be with Sean for a while, but that wouldn't be the last time I saw Sean in a compromising position, not by a long shot. One day, I found the vault where he kept all his encounters with men. Yes, he kept the record of it, but that's for later. Chapter 6. Pac. Biggie took over the East Coast hip-hop, and Sean was the brilliant mind that orchestrated it. He hired people to teach Chris how to flow and write his lyrics. He hired the best producers to do the beats. although he took credit for them, and the music was unstoppable. At this point, Sean was sleeping with all the power players, and everyone that wanted to do music wanted to be a bad boy. Sean was willed and dealed in a way that have been unthinkable to many. He slept with the guys that really controlled the music to stay on top. A lot of the names average people have never heard of. These are the guys that make the decisions on who's winning and who's not. He hosted parties that were just a fancy name for orgies, and everyone wanted in. When I met Pac, Sean and I had an open relationship, and yes, I slept with Pac. Shit, he was sexy. Sean didn't mind. Well, not until he tried to get Pac to join both of us. Pac was not good with that. This is where the relationship between them became strained. Pac wasn't going to accept Sean's advances. Pac wasn't gay, and he was pissed about those advances. We were all in Sean's house. I was drinking, they were smoking, and everyone was just relaxing. Sean came on what I'm sure he would call a smooth approach. My baby is bad, isn't she? Pac threw me a sly smile. Hell yeah. I felt myself blush. Sean was now in full swing. You think you hit it better than me? I couldn't believe he disrespected me that way. I was not playing with my response. Sean, what the fuck? Pac came to my defense. Damn, bro, you ain't gotta do the sister that way. Pac appeared upset behind Sean's words, but Sean went for the kill regardless. I think my dick's bigger than yours. I bet I can make her come faster than you. What's up? Pac was appalled. What the fuck you talking about, nigga? I ain't trying to run no fucking train. Sean continued. What? You scared? What you scared of? Let's see who fucks better. Let her be the judge. Yes, at this point we had been inviting others into our bed for a while, but I'm not used to and will not stand up for disrespect. I wasn't the only one upset. Pac shouted, nigga, you talking about pulling your fucking dick out? Sean was undaunted. What, you scared? Pac simply left. Things were contentious since then. The two could not be in the same room. Pac avoided me as much as he did Sean. When they did bump into each other, the tension was palpable. It felt like blows could be thrown at any moment. Months passed with only the tension between them. It was uncomfortable, but nothing life or death. Then one day, we were at the studio. It happened. I walked into Sean's office, and he was having the conversation. Sean sat across from Jimmy Henchman. Pac, don't leave that fucking studio alive. I don't think I was supposed to hear it. I continued as if I didn't. Hey, Sean. Good morning, Jimmy. They didn't seem to think I heard anything. I'm ordering breakfast. Smiling. Sean replied first. Let me get eggs sunny side up with grits and orange juice. I could see that he was hungover. Good. I don't want him knowing that I know anything. If he just put a hit on Tupac. Knowing something could be dangerous. Jimmy, apparently not hungry, said, nothing for me. As he stood to exit the room, he said to Sean, let's make that happen. Then nodded to me and said, Kim, always a pleasure. With a wink to me and a nod to Sean, he turned and walked out. Jimmy was a part of our intimate circle. I went on as if nothing was happening. I'll make the call now. I smiled as I left, hoping I wasn't white as a sheet. I wasn't in the studio the night Pac survived being shot, thank God. From what I understand, Sean and Chris saw Pac at the studio after he'd been shot and did nothing. The way God works. After being shot, Pac made it to the elevator and tried to escape, but it stopped at the floor Sean and Chris were on. When the doors opened, they saw him lying on the elevator. On the elevator floor, riddled with bullets. The fact that they didn't call an ambulance, although they saw Pac laying there swimming in a pool of his own blood, will be all the evidence Pac ever needed. He, of course, assured they placed the hit. And Tupac is a soldier. This is not something that will be unanswered. Tupac didn't do well. He lost a testicle, but he survived. It was orchestrated, and Sean Puffy Combs was the orchestrator. Chapter 7, Threats. At this point, I knew I had to get away from him. But I was scared. Is he going to take my life if I try to escape? One February evening, I thought I found my opportunity at dinner after an event. We were at a ritzy restaurant in a private booth. It was an exclusive setup. We were alone, but we were in public. Perfect. Sean was on the phone talking to an unknown listener as he sat down. His words on that card would be etched into my mind forever. We're going to release Who Shot Ya now. He waited for a response, then went on to say, of course, they're going to think B.I.G. was talking about Pac. That's the whole fucking point. Nobody would give a fuck about a diss track against LL fucking Cool J. Do you know how much money we'll make with this kind of rap beef? If niggas battling after someone really got shot, this may not be the best time for this conversation. Sean was finishing up. We drop that shit tomorrow. He listened into the phone and then responded, there's going to be blood in the street. Niggas miss Pac's alive. Let's capitalize on that shit. When he responds, it's just going to mean more money. He turned around and looked at me, spoke back into the phone. I'll call you back. Then hung up and spoke to me. What's wrong? I tried my best to give a fake smile at what I'd heard. After all, me and Pac were intimate. I responded, nothing. Sean wasn't fooled. Are you sure? His demeanor was threatening, but I responded as cool as I could muster to his intimidating stare. Yeah, of course. He took my hand saying, that's wonderful. He began to squeeze my hand until it hurt as he continued. Because seeing you walk in the office while I was talking about killing that motherfucker and you not saying shit to me had me a little concerned. His grip was starting to hurt badly. You're hurting me. As he continued, he squeezed tighter. Your pretending you don't hear anything was a sign of your loyalty to me, not something I should be concerned with, right? I had no choice but to give him the answer he wanted. I knew I was trapped when I responded. Of course I'm loyal to you. He let me go as he responded, good. And remember, I'm the big dick. I snatched my hand in pain. He smiled and said, let's start off with a good wine. He snapped his fingers and his favorite wine was poured from him. They knew what Sean wanted, and what he wanted was what he got. I'm trapped. Now isn't the time for me to launch my escape plan. I have to be strategic. It's going to be hard to just leave the glamour, the glitz, the lifestyle. I mean, this man just snapped his finger in one of the most exclusive restaurants in New York City, and they poured his drink of choice. The bottle of wine is $800. And this is 1994. The list to get in this place is 6 months long if you are somebody. Mayor Giuliani has a table here tonight also. If I got up, walked out, I will be safe. But what about tomorrow? I had to think. He sipped his wine and smiled. You're not drinking? He pointed at my glass, and of course a waiter filled it. They knew what I liked as well. Sean has a bad temper. He yells sometimes. And okay, he's roughed me up once or twice, but he never punched me. He never bruised me, and he never hit Quincy. I would not have stood for that. He never laid a hand on my son. At that time, I never thought of him touching Quincy in that way. Then the significance of what he said hit me. Is he mad at Tupac over me? I'm the big dick. Oh my God. The last time he put his hands on me, it was because I enjoyed Jamie Foxx too much. Shit, he enjoyed Jamie. He gets so insanely jealous. It's not fair. He wants to bring other men into the bedroom, but gets jealous when he does. Damn, you're real quiet tonight, he said, snapping back me into present. I asked the question that was burning in my mind since I walked into that office. What does Chris think of this? He looked at me coolly and said, his fat ass better just keep doing music. A third guest was escorted over by security. Sean motioned for him to sit. A waiter walked over to Sean Carter and asked, would you like something? Carter responded, no thank you. Then he said, hello to me with a smile. Smiling, I replied, "Hey, Carter," and took a sip of my drink. The Shawns may share a bed from time to time, but thankfully, I was never asked to join. Carter went on to speak to Sean. "I thought we were meeting in private," Sean replied with a nonchalant shrug. "I had to discuss something with her. It's fine. Go ahead." He wielded this kind of power. Carter shifted uncomfortably in his chair before continuing. "It's true. Chris and Pac were about to start their own label." Sean slammed his fist at the table, shouting, "Doesn't anyone have any fucking loyalty?" Carter, "Well, that's not happening now, right?" Sean peered at Carter with distrust. "Why the fuck are you so eager to share this with me?" "Chris is your man. Fuck, he brought you on, and you're stabbing him in the back?" Carter responded with indignity. "First, I'm tired of being that nigga's son. I need to come out from under this damn shadow." Sean smiled slightly. "Okay, I respect that." Carter kept going. "On top of that, this nigga is making that move, and it should have been with me." Sean looked at Carter blankly. "Pac put Chris on. You know this. What's this really all about, Carter? Don't fucking try to play me. The Jay-Z of today wasn't born yet. This young Sean Carter was in over his head. Corn red. He had to spill it out. I want his spot. Ambition now. This is a man I can work with." Sean made a grandiose gesture towards Carter. "Waiter, get this motherfucker whatever he wants." Carter smiled. "Thank you." Sean responded, "Honestly and ambition, we're going to make a lot of bread together." Carter ordered a drink as he stated again, "Guess he won't be leaving with that nigga to do their own label now." Sean responded with his normal air of arrogance. "Why don't you let me worry about that? I took this as my cue to escape." I told Sean I'm going to go ahead and get back to Quincy. Sean was wrapped up in his conversation with Carter and barely noticed as he excused me. Have the limo drop you off." We didn't eat. He didn't care. I smiled and kissed him on the cheek and left. That was chapters 1 through 7 of Kim's Lost Words. Check back for my page where I can read the second half of this book.